Hey everybody, Sharpie here. Let's do an LCS tier list. Now, normally when we talk about a tier list, we rank teams first through eighth and give arguments for why we think the teams are going to be placed in those specific standings. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is kind of give a spread for where I think realistically these teams could end up by the end of the year, where their peaks are going to be, where their lowest are probably going to end up if they tank or they don't do as well as projected, and then give an actual rating at the end where I think they realistically could definitively be with my early prediction. So that being said, let's get started with it right now. First off with the team that won it last year, NRG. Now, NRG is a good team. They're a very good team. Dokla, I would put probably in my top 5 top laners at Worlds last year. He played phenomenally well. Palafaker did not get tested as much as I wish he would have been. I would have loved to see him go up against T1 and play against Faker. I would have loved to see him go up against JDG and test his mettle against a player by the means of Knight. However, when they did play against G2, he looked like the better mid laner up against Caps. And he played basically like the better mid laner against pretty much everyone that he faced and just didn't continue further because team composition wise, they lost to Weibo and the Shy did the Shy things. So, Energy is still a very good team. Are they the best team? I don't know, particularly because of some of the upgrades that other teams have made. However, Energy last year, they were definitely a better than the sum of their parts team. So Energy, I could still see being first at the end of the season. They could still see them winning the whole thing. Now, there is one problem. I think losing Ignar and taking Huhi instead could be a downgrade. Ignar is a fantastic shot caller, and I think he was pivotal to maintain the composure and maintaining the shot calling and direction in games, particularly when they got into the playoffs. His mental and his ability to read the match and read where the plays are going to happen ahead of their time, I think were a huge underrated reason why they won Summer last year and why they did so well at Worlds. Will Huhi be able to match that? I don't know. However, Dokla really seemed to come into form towards the end of the year, and I'm hoping that he continues to do that. Palafox continues to improve more and more. Contracts is gaining so much confidence, and FBI and Huhi have played together before. So I still think this team will be very good. Will they match their dominance that they had towards the end of the year for Western League of Legends that they had last year? I don't know. I hope to see them continue with it. So that being said, Energy, I could see them ending first place, but if things don't go as well, considering how good some of these other teams could be, I can see them ending as low as third, maybe fourth. Next, let's talk about Cloud9. Now, Cloud9 had a fantastic offseason. They picked up Jojo Pune, which is going to be a massive boost considering how much MNS struggled towards the second half of the year. I think Jojo Pune is going to do fantastic things for this team. Vulcan as well, he did have a bit of a weird year on FlyQuest there where things didn't really work out how they were, planning them to go. But Vulcan onto Cloud9 paired with a player of the caliber of Berserker should do fantastic things for this C9 roster. Now, there is a slight catch with this. You've got Fudge, who's a really good weak side player, but he likes to be a bit more of a carry position. We've seen him want to play a bit more aggressively. Jojo Pune is an all or nothing player. You need to put everything into him. And Berserker is also kind of an all or nothing player, where you need to put all your resources into him. And Blabber as well can be a bit of one of those carry players. So I do worry a little bit that this is going to be a team that will beat teams that are bad, but will struggle against teams that are good because they don't know where they should put their resources into, and a lot of these players will not be used to playing with fewer resources than they've played for in seasons past. That is an issue I could easily see happening with this Cloud9 roster, where they struggle in spring and maybe eventually they figure it out later in the end of spring and figure it out even more completely come summer. But early on, considering how a lot of these players have been star players for their teams, there's only so many resources that can go around. That being said, I still think Cloud9 is probably most likely to be the best team in LCS spring, and pending no crazy changes, probably summer as well. However, like I said, I still think in spring particularly, they could struggle. So, C9, I have them easily being first place, but I could actually see them falling as low as fifth. I could see another FlyQuest situation happen where they put together a super team and it just collapses because they don't know how to put their resources out appropriately. So C9 topping out at first, lowest fifth place. Finishing in third place last year was Team Liquid. Now, Team Liquid is a weird one. They had high highs and they had low lows. They looked absolutely unstoppable in some games and then looked like they couldn't do anything in others. They had a really strong showing and almost beat World Championship winner T1 and then got eliminated 2-1 to GAM. So they were a really difficult team to figure out just how good actually are they. So they made a few changes. They got rid of Pioshik and picked up Umti. They signed Impact to the top lane, and they kept their mid and bot lane together with APA, Yan, and Core JJ. So it's going to be most likely, as we're looking at another TLCK, where it's going to be a Korean-speaking roster, I'm assuming, because you've got Impact, Umti, Yan, and Core JJ, who all speak Korean, and I've seen from Twitter that APA is learning Korean. So we'll have to see how this roster actually pans out for them. I'm a little concerned, though, I will have to say. Umti is good. I don't know if he's going to be good enough to compete with the likes of Blabber, of Contracts, and of some of these other high caliber junglers that are in the LCS. There's a lot of stable junglers that can be very good. Spica's another one who for some reason didn't get signed to a team. I would have loved him on this Team Liquid roster, actually. I think he would have been a great fit for this. That being said, Team Liquid, I don't know how good they're going to be. I have them topping out at fourth, and I could see them finishing as low as eighth. I think that depending upon how well some of these other teams go, 100 Thieves could do well. Dignitas could do well. Immortals could do well. Shopify could do well. They have highlights for all of their teams, and so does Team Liquid. However, just like all these other teams, there are a lot of things that could just go wrong, and a lot of these things that simply could not work out. We have no idea how Umti is going to play with the team with APA and Yan. We have no idea if Core JJ and Yan together are going to continue to be all right, or they can continue to be serviceable, or will it kind of continue to slide like we saw it starting to happen towards the end of last year. So Team Liquid, I had them topping out at around third or fourth. I'm going to say fourth and ending eighth. Up next, we're taking a look at Dignitas. A very exciting team to watch, actually. I love watching Rich. This guy does not seem to be afraid to pick things that people don't normally want to play for top lane. We saw him break out the Alawi. We saw him break out the Quinn and do very well on it, by the way. And so I think especially as he continues to get more and more comfortable playing League of Legends and getting more and more into his zone and playing this new game where he used to be the greatest in another game, I'm hopeful to see that side of him really show in this upcoming year, especially as Dignitas have upgraded their roster. They picked up Dove, they've picked up XU, they've got a great roster lined up for the upcoming LCS with their bot lane as well of Tomo and Isles. I don't know how that bot lane is going to play. That's the weak point of this roster. But Rich and Dove, with I think a promising rookie in XU, to see how this guy will perform. He's a very young player. I think he's got a lot to offer. We've seen him a bit before in the LCS, kind of on and off, but this will be his first time truly getting that starting position for the jungle. And I'm excited to see what he can bring out. I know that some people in the Discord are very excited to watch him play, and I'm really excited to watch Rich continue to grow. So this Dignitas roster, as they started to kind of get things together towards the end of the season, and they were looking slowly better and better, I think this is a team that could do very well. But at the same time, if this bot lane just doesn't work out, if XU is a fluke and doesn't do as well as people hope, this team could end up being the worst in the LCS pretty easily. Dignitas is an interesting one. I could see them ending up as high as 4th, but similar to Team Liquid, I could see them ending as low as 8th. So I'm putting Dignitas in this 4th to 8th range, somewhere around in there. Maybe if some of the other teams kind of flounder a little bit, I could see them reaching as high as 3rd, but I highly doubt it. Up next, we're going to be talking about Shopify Rebellion. Now, this team took the spot from TSM, and they kept a few familiar faces, brought in some old faces and a new player, and I think this team could be very good. Fake God, when he was on Dignitas, did not look that great, but since then went down similar to Dokla, went back down to Challengers, had a great showing there with DSG, and is now ready to come back in a lot stronger form. A great video was put out about him as well, which I highly recommend you go watch. And Insanity, in my opinion, has the potential to be the best mid laner this upcoming year. Insanity's high end is insane, I guess you could say. I love everything I've seen from him back when he was even on Immortals, watching him pick things like AP Kog'Maw, not being afraid to step out of the meta a little bit to try innovative and new ways to win the game. I think there's a ton of upside to him. He was clearly the only reason that TSM roster made it to playoffs last year, and his carry performances were absolutely unreal. I was so excited to watch this kid continue to grow, and I think here on Shopify with Boogie, with Fake God, with B-Boy, who I've heard there's from different people that some people are up on him, some people are down on him, and especially with the experience that Zeyzal will bring to this team as well as Coach Revan. I think this is a team that could be potentially a very, very good team. Do not be surprised if this team does very well. I could see them unironically ending up, Spring Split particularly, as high as 2nd. And as low, I think that they could be bad, but I think just how strong Insanity is alone will keep them high enough from finishing 7th and 8th. So I could see Shopify Rebellion ending up between 2nd and 6th place. A great team to look forward to, a great, exciting team to root for, and I think they'll be fun to watch. All right, up next, we've got this roster of 100 Thieves. Now, in the offseason, there was a lot of talk about whether 100 Thieves would even be in the LCS next year. And surprising to a lot of us, they actually committed and decided to stick it out for at least another year. They've picked up River, they've picked up Sniper to be their top lane, Meech, an exciting new rookie to come in for their AD carry position, and Quid sticking around as that mid laner. Now, Quid looked questionable last year. He had a few games where he looked all right. He had a lot of games where he looked like he had a lot of growing to do. Now, there were some talks about maybe there's something to do with the fact that you have Double Lift on your team, and he's just going to be the person who's going to be, he's Double Lift. So you're going to give him all the resources. He's going to be the carry. And a player like Quid, who's a rookie, you're going to kind of leave him on the bench a little bit and not give him even the opportunities to do what he potentially could do. And on a team like this now, maybe he'll have more opportunities to shine and show why 100 Thieves was excited to bring this player into the roster in the first place and why they're keeping him for another year. But the player I'm most excited about is their new top laner, Sniper. Now, Sniper is a player we've been talking about for quite a few years. He reached Challenger, I believe, when he was like 13 or 14 or something ridiculous. He's been touted as like the next great for NA, and we've been waiting for his arrival in the LCS for quite a few years, and now it is time to bring him to the LCS for this 100 Thieves roster, and he's going to have River next to him, a fantastic talented jungler who knows how to delve out resources where they need to go. And I think he's going to be a great match for Sniper to really have a fantastic, potentially top 3 top side in the LCS. And they could even be a top 10 top jungle duo in the world, potentially, if this top lane power potential that Sniper has shown, at least in solo queue, translates well to the LCS stage. We'll have to see how things like nerfs pan out. We'll have to see how things like the different meta and the different play style of solo queue versus competitive works. But I think Sniper is going to be a very exciting player to watch. He could be their ticket to a good playoff run in spring and potentially even summer and potentially even worlds as well. So 100 Thieves is an exciting team to watch out for. They brought on Golden Glue as a coach. I love Golden Glue. He's a great player and a great personality to be around. So he'll have a great amount of energy, a good charisma to add an extra personality layer to this 100 Thieves roster. But enough about the details. Let's talk about where this team actually could end up. Sniper, now we'll have to see how the meta changes with the item changes, the top lane adjustments, making it a bit more isolated. So potentially top lane could be a lot more of a carry position. It could be a lot more top lane centric as we move into this next year, considering how things could change, especially with the map changes, making it a lot more difficult to abuse a top laner who's trying to push. So I think Sniper has the potential to carry this team very high, and Meech as well. Meech looked great on that DSG roster. So 100 Thieves, I could see them ending up as high as third. 100 Thieves looks like they could be very good. Ayla was questionable. He's their support, but I think Ayla has also shown a lot of upside. And I think this is a team that has a lot of youth, a lot of energy, and they've got a great rock with River to kind of lock themselves around. And he will make sure that the early game never really goes wrong. So as high as third, but I could also see them ending as low as probably, I'm going to say 8th place, because it could take a while for Sniper, for Meech, for Ayla even to get that familiarity really rolling. It could take some time for Quid to get comfortable with being in a bit more of a carry role. So I could see them as high as third if things go well early, as low as 8th for this roster of 100 Thieves. All right, the 7th team we're going to be looking at, and by far, at least to me, the most confusing roster I have seen is FlyQuest. Now, FlyQuest came off of a superpower roster that just completely fell apart. They had the likes of Prince, they had Vulcan, they had Spica, they brought in a very exciting prospect in Vikla, and it just did not work at all. Nothing seemed to work after week 1 of the spring split. Yeah, they had a great week 1, but outside of that, maybe they had a couple days where they looked like they were going to be okay, but it just never panned out at all for them. And it was really hard to watch because I loved watching Prince on Sandbox and how he came so close to single-handedly carrying that Sandbox roster to Worlds, but ended up being faced up against, who was it? It was DRX, actually, in the last game to make it to Worlds. And as we all know, DRX won Worlds that year. So unlucky, I guess. But either way, this roster confused me a lot. You bring in Buipo as your top laner, who hasn't played for a year or so. You bring in Masu, who is a very exciting, high prospect, high talent rookie. And then you pair him with another kind of unknown in Busio, who had his first year last year kind of under double lift and really didn't get the chance to shine as much as I would have loved to see from him. So with Masu, I would have loved to see him with a bit more of a veteran support. Buipo is very odd considering the other top laners you could have picked up, like Licorice, like Revenge. Inspired makes sense. Inspired is a very good jungler. He was definitely the best player outside of maybe Jojo Pyun on that EG roster. And then you get Jensen as well, who had a few good games on Dignitas last year, but for the most part looked like he really wasn't all that good anymore. Had a very weak split. So this FlyQuest roster is very confusing. I think they could be okay. Inspired could probably carry them to a few wins, and Masu, after he gets comfortable in the LCS and has some development into him, he could probably be a pretty good player for this team, but we'll have to see how Masu and Busio play together. That being said, at least for spring, I'm not very high on them. I think their high is going to be probably 4th, and their low obviously is going to be 8th for this team of FlyQuest. Now, finally, the team we're going to be talking about last is the team that I'm supporting this year, Immortals. Now, Immortals is going to be, in my opinion, a very exciting team to watch. They've already talked about publicly how they want to do a lot more work to showcase the personality and the identity of the different players through content. They want to do a lot more publicity, a lot more videos, a lot more things to showcase the personality and to get you to fall in love with these players. And I'm really excited to see that from this team. You've also got some exciting prospects in Mask, who was by far the best player on that Unicorns of Love team. You've got Castle, who has had some very high games, beating out the likes of Thanatos multiple times in playoffs, has a fantastic Gwen, a unstoppable Gnar, and has just from the VODs that I watched of him, his team fight understanding knowledge for how to flank, where to be in team fights, how to engage, etc., looked absolutely ridiculous. And then you've also got Tactical and Ole, who Ole reached #1 in solo queue in Korea. Tactical is a player who has insanely high highs, but also tends to int and tilt a little bit if things don't go well, a lot like me in solo queue. And Armeo, I think, is actually a really good fit for this team. You have a high carry player in Tactical, you have a high carry player in Mask, you have a solid team fighter with Castle, and what you need is a rock jungler who can facilitate them. And Armeo showed on EG that this is exactly what he could do. Now, Armeo did get benched in favor of Shiden, but I do believe it's because they wanted to see what they had in that jungler and not because Armeo was actually doing anything bad or wrong. I think they also wanted to experiment with different playstyles that Armeo was maybe less comfortable with. Either way, I think Armeo is going to be a very good jungler for this team and is going to do a fantastic job of actually allowing the carries of Tactical and Mask to be the carries they need to be. So with this team, I'm going to be a little delusional here. I think this team could unironically, I know I just said delusional, but roll with me here. I think this team could end as high as second. Now, the reason for this is Mask is very good. A lot of people have been touting him as like one of the highest potential players we've seen in quite a while. I know LS was very high on him. Other people have been very excited about what this guy could do. Castle, I know, has seen a little bit more criticism in the past. He got benched in favor of Perfect from KT Academy. But Castle is a player who has an insane upside, and I've heard from the coaches and talking with them that he has an insane drive to prove himself and show that benching him was a mistake and that he is clearly the better player. Tactical as well, I know, is very motivated to show and bring back that old form that he used to have when he played on Team Liquid and looked like he had the potential to be to be the next big AD carry for the region. And Ole, obviously coming off of that rank 1 in Korea. So there's a lot to be excited about for this team. And I think they could end as high as second, but I think they could fall to as low as 7th. I don't think they'll be last though. I think one of the other teams is probably going to be worse than them. I think they're going to be realistically a very solid team, upper half of the LCS. Very excited to watch this team. So there you have it. That's the power rankings from me, Sharpie. Completely not delusional, completely actually the best power rankings you could ever watch in LCS. Don't watch any other power rankings. They don't have all the facts or all the intel that I can bring you as a delusional fan. So thanks for watching, everyone. Excited to go to the LCS. I will be there for both games of week 1. If you see me, say hello. Let me know you watched the videos. If you don't, say hi anyways in a message in the comments, or give me a like or something. I don't know. Either way, enjoy the LCS. I'm very excited for this upcoming year. And I think with the rosters condensed down to 8 teams, we're going to see a lot more competitive teams. I think all the rosters this year look a lot more competitive overall than they have in years past. And I think this is going to be a fantastic year of League of Legends for North America.